I need to shower and change and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Right. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'm your host. This is our third segment out of four. I'm going to talk about the issue surrounding NSA and copyright infringement. That's their new front they've opened up in violating the rights of American citizens. And, boy, I got to tell you, this one just takes the cake. There's a company out there who is they call themselves Liberty Maniacs, and what they do is they make these kind of smart alecky T-shirts. And Dan McCall, he's the owner of the company, and effectively he created this T-shirt that showed a picture of the NSA and their logo, effectively, and the under the logo, he wrote there that. He wrote under the logo, the NSA, the only part of government that actually listens. Now, I got to admit, I thought that was pretty crafty. And, I mean, most Americans would think that that's, a fairly good joke. I mean, that's what it was intended to be, right? And, I mean, the guy's just trying to do his part to make a living. He's trying to, sell some T-shirts and be able to make a living. Well, guess what? The NSA comes out and says to him, you have violated copyright law because you took the NSA's logo and underneath the actual, picture of the eagle, he put in there, he changed the language to say, peeping while you are sleeping. And then the following phrase, the NSA, the only part of government that actually listens. Well, right after the T-shirt went for sale online, there's a website called Zazzle.com. They pulled the shirt, and then they sent him a letter basically stating that the product was pulled because the NSA contacted them, and the NSA claims that it contains content that's in conflict with one or more of their acceptable content guidelines, and they're removing the product from the Zazzle marketplace. So here's their quote, policy notes. The design contains an image or text that may infringe on intellectual property rights. We have been contacted by the intellectual property rights holder, and we will be removing your product from Zazzle Marketplace due to infringement claims. So here's the problem. Ben Swan has got a great article out there about this. The problem is a couple of things. First and foremost, you can't claim copyright infringement on parody, and the Supreme Court's already ruled that. Secondarily, I hardly think that the NSA qualifies as an injured party here because they work for us, or don't they? In other words, is not the federal government of the United States of America the employee of America? And how dare they say that you cannot use a logo which belongs to all of us? To make matters even worse, the NSA is using a logo for PRISM. Now, PRISM is the spying spying program that was revealed by Edward Snowden. And the logo for PRISM, as Ben Swan accurately points out, and I'm going to play this video for you. Ben Swan points out that this logo PRISM is used by the NSA, and the copyright law from the guy who actually owns the logo says that it can be used openly, but that they have to point back to his website and give him credit for it. Well, guess what? The NSA has failed to do that. So, is this a case of the pot calling the kettle black? Or, perhaps even more nefariously, is this a case of the violation of free speech, or the use of the law as a tool and a weapon to limit free speech? And I suspect that it's more of that than the former.
It sounds a little bit ridiculous, but it's happening. The NSA is effectively stopping one small business owner claiming that his criticism in using their name has infringed on their copyright. Can they do that? This is a reality check you're not going to see anywhere else. Well, this is a story I had a hard time believing until I looked into it for myself. Here's the backstory. Dan McCall is the owner of a company that makes snarky t-shirts. The company is called Liberty Maniacs, and they carry a number of t-shirts dealing with lack of privacy and the growing police state. They sell on a site called Zazzle.com. None of it's been a problem until Liberty Maniacs released this shirt called the NSA. The image looks like the NSA logo, but has a motto that is clearly a pun: peeping while you're sleeping, followed by the phrase, the NSA, the only part of the government that actually listens. Shortly after going online, Zazzle pulled the shirt from its website, sending this message: "Thank you for publishing products on Zazzle. Unfortunately, it appears that your product, the NSA, contains content that is in conflict with one or more of our acceptable content guidelines. We will be removing this product from the Zazzle marketplace shortly. Policy notes: design contains an image or text that may infringe on intellectual property rights. We have been contacted by the intellectual property right holder, and we will be removing your product from Zazzle's marketplace due to infringement claims." Dan McCall, the owner of Liberty Maniacs, spoke with me via Skype and says there were multiple items dealing with the NSA that were pulled down from Zazzle.
These two, and then a number, probably 4 or 5 bumper stickers and things like that. Anything basically remotely relating to the NSA was taken down. And I'm not sure if that was, subsequently a blanket policy that Zazzle themselves had put up just because they didn't want to deal with the hassle and they didn't want to spend their time interpreting each thing, knowing that they would run into problems, or it was something that they actually, they were plugged into NSA legal, and they were kind of watching things as they go.
So to be clear, McCall was using the NSA logo. The NSA claimed copyright infringement, and Zazzle.com pulled the content down. Now, in fairness, what McCall was doing does use an official logo of a government agency. So can anyone just use that logo? Well, actually, yes. According to both the Electronic Freedom Foundation and the American Bar Association, parody is recognized as a type of fair use. Quote, "Like other commentary and criticism, courts recognize that a parody must often take recognizable elements from the work it comments upon. Courts do distinguish parody from satire. Parody copies from the object it mocks." So you can't claim copyright infringement if your logo or image is used as part of a parody. So the next question, is this logo a parody? According to the U.S. Supreme Court, a parody is the use of some elements of a prior author's composition to create a new one that, at least in part, comments on that author's works. Like other forms of comment or criticism, parody can provide social benefit by shedding light on an earlier work, and in the process, creating a new one.
I tried to visually take the most obvious, direction towards poking at them as I could, and that was their logo, right? I just said, I'm going to take it, adulterate it a little bit, and put in a few jabs in there, and that'll be it. So, it wasn't a huge design coup, but it did the job.
Now, what might be the most interesting twist in this entire story is that while the NSA is claiming copyright infringement against McCall for his parody, the NSA itself is facing accusations of true copyright infringement. Take a look at this image. This is the official NSA logo for the PRISM program. PRISM is, of course, the program that deals with NSA spying via email and phone records. Well, according to reports from England, the PRISM image used here is being used without permission. Adam Hart Davis is a well-known BBC presenter, and the image belongs to him. Here is the Davis pic. As you can see, the NSA image is just an upside-down version. Adam's son, Damon, who wrote about this in the Register newspaper, claims that the image is free for use, but a donation is requested. And at minimum, use of this image requires a link to his photo gallery and acknowledgement, none of which he has received from the NSA.
So it's very apparent that what we've got here is a double standard. What's more disturbing is the fact that what we're really seeing here is an abuse of the system by the NSA for their own nefarious purposes in an attempt to silence free speech. And to make matters even worse, they are guilty of exactly that which they are screaming bloody murder about with this guy. I mean, you know, is there nothing sacred to this police state anymore? And it's not even just this administration, guys. Let's realize how far down the rabbit hole we've gone here. Every one of these administrative agencies operates in an extra-constitutional format. They have no right to exist. They have no authority to exist. They have no constitutional foundation by which to hang or hook on the wall by which to hang their hat on. They have no authority other than that which has been delegated to them either by the executive or the legislative, or confirmed by the judiciary. But let's recognize something. You never gave a delegated power of attorney to the Congress of the United States of America, nor to the presidency, nor to the courts, to subdelegate your power of attorney to a group of people who are unelected and unaccountable and actually working against your constitutional foundational principles and rights. It's that simple. And the NSA, and among the many, many, many other agencies out there, all of them administrative, all of them operating extra-constitutionally, all of them abusing you, these agencies and what they're doing are so damaging and dangerous to us that, you know, you got to question the issue of whether or not these agencies should even exist, much less be able to use a functionality like this of going to the courts and claiming a copyright infringement when the courts themselves have clearly indicated that it's not. But you see, here's the problem. In the meantime, they know they can tie this company up indefinitely. They know that they can sit there and by financial attrition beat these guys to death. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the mark of a police state. I encourage you, if you're a T-shirt wearer and you like this kind of stuff, I would encourage you to go to libertymaniacs.com. That's Liberty Maniac, M-A-N-I-A-C-S, libertymaniacs.com. You can buy their stuff from Cafe Press because Zazzle, and boycott Zazzle for falling for this crap and not being willing to stand up and fight back. But you can buy it, I believe, directly from them, and I would encourage you to do so. Cut out the middleman and give these guys a chance. They have some very, very good stuff out there. And, you know, it's all liberty intended. It's like End the Fed. They have a picture there of Marx, and it says, "This is not Santa," because he's there with that full, stupid-looking beard. You know, he's got a symbol on there of an Indian sitting bull with underneath it with the logo, "Trust the Government," and you can see how that worked out. Ayn Rand gear. Science Rocks, you know, I mean, just some really good stuff. Sons of Liberty, Constitutional Insurgency, Liberty, It Begins With You, with Jefferson pointing the finger like Uncle Sam. You know, the point is, I encourage you to go there and get, they have a lot more than just T-shirts, too. They have clothing, accessories, art and posters, electronics, office products, home products, mugs, phone cases, whatever, stickers, billboards, yard signs, skateboards, whatever you want. And by the way, I have nothing to, full disclosure, these guys don't pay me anything. I have no contact to them. I've never spoken to anybody. I have no link to them or anything in any other way, shape, or form. I am just a patriot who says when somebody's doing a good job and they're living the American dream, which is what we're all supposed to be, you know, laboring under, we have an obligation and a right to operate and do as we choose. And if that means that we want to poke fun at the federal government for their abuses, which aren't questioned, I mean, no one at this point doubts that the NSA is operating outside the bounds of what it ought to be operating under. So for them to have the gall and to feel that it's okay for them to abuse this organization by trying to censor them, then, I've got no sympathy for them. And so I would encourage you to go out there and visit with these guys. If nothing else, jump on their Facebook page and like it, just so that we show the government we've had enough of their BS and we're not going to take it anymore. And we're okay with the idea that, I've liked it. I encourage you to do the same. And, be willing to stand up there and take a stand, even if it's a little thing like this. So, the important issue for us to recognize is that what I'm trying to explain to you is how far these agencies and this government is willing to go to defy the law in an effort to keep you silenced. So censorship at this point is so rampant, and we're going to touch on that in the next segment too, because we're going to talk about this child pornography issue and how these organizations have been compromised or attempted to compromise a group of them. In fact, let's just deal with it now because I want to address this. Dan Johnson, who is from the group PANDA, which stands for People Against the NDAA, he was sent a child pornography email through a Tormail account. Now, that's an anonymous email, so it was impossible for him to track back and figure out who actually sent it. And the email was claimed to have come from Stuart Rhodes, who's the founder and the director of Oath Keepers. Now, I addressed this once before on a previous show, but I think it's worth to come back and update, and I'll tell you why. There's been another incident. And in fact, what this email contained was 6 PDF images of graphic child pornography. And so what Dan Johnson has said is, our IT technician estimates it took about 8 to 9 hours to put this email together, something that is technologically sophisticated. It was specifically designed, number one, to be found, and number two, to implicate Stuart Rhodes in sending me the email and to implicate me in having the email on my computer. Now, Johnson received the email a few weeks after Luke Rudkowski from We Are Change and another guy by the name of Madison Rupert from EndTheLie.com. They also received emails from a purported whistleblower. And these emails contained child pornography also. But they were caught at it. So what they did is they changed their tactics around and applied a different methodology. And so Johnson says, if I didn't have an IT background, I would have thought that deleting the file actually deletes the file. It doesn't really delete the file. It just deletes the markers where the file is supposed to be. So the file would still be on my computer and I wouldn't even know it. So if I were to be raided at any point because someone were to say, hey, I think Dan has child pornography on his computer, then someone would come in, they would be able to open my computer, they would be able to look at it. I would obviously have no idea that the image was still there. They would take the computer, and what would happen from there, I'm really not sure. But it is about 5 years in prison for each image. He goes on to point out that in this case, in both his and Rudkowski's case, Rudkowski was the guy from We Are Change, the images were not opened or even downloaded. And there's a whole interview on Ben Swan about it. But since receiving the email, Johnson has contacted police and shared the email. Unfortunately, in both cases, the email was sent from an anonymous Tormail account, which is designed to be untraceable. Now, here's the real question. If our government was really interested in getting to the bottom of terroristic actions, this is a terrorist action. Attempting to set up and implicate someone with child pornography in an attempt to silence them is a terrorist act in and of itself. Secondarily, the NSA has all of these fancy capabilities that we're really not able to know about. So the next question is, why can't they go back in and track it through Tormail? If they can listen to everything that Americans are doing and know what you had for lunch and what you had for breakfast and where you went yesterday and turn on your cell phone remotely and turn on the webcam on your laptop remotely, and they can do all of those things, folks, so make no mistake about it. How is it that they won't take this and investigate it? I got to ask you, why is it that, now, if this had been done to somebody on the liberal side, let's say for argument's sake, somebody went and turned her and sent an email like this and tried to get it into the hands of, say, Reverend Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson or maybe Dennis Kucinich or, one of these other liberal advocates out there. what do you think would happen? There would be a national investigation of immense proportion. They'd be all over this like a hobo on a ham sandwich. But when it comes to a conservative group who they were trying to set up for a criminal investigation and to silence via censorship through terrorism, nobody cares. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a travesty. I don't know about you, but I have had enough with this one-sided government support, one-sided government investigation. I mean, we've got the same thing going on with all this black-on-white crime that's happening, and everybody says it's not racially related, but Trayvon Martin gets shot, and boy, the whole world blows up in an explosion of racial indignation. You know what? You can't have it both ways, folks. You either stand the way you stand all the time, or you don't stand that way at all. Integrity and honor are something you have when nobody's looking, or you just don't have it at all. And let's stop pretending with this faux outrage. You know, the nonsense with the rodeo clown and, you know, come on, man. Nobody believes that guy was really intentionally advocating. Everybody has made fun of presidents in rodeo clown outfits for as long as there have been rodeo clowns. So let's stop acting as if we've got this faux moral outrage. Moral outrage would be somebody using child pornography who obviously possessed it in the first place to try to set these guys up. So why don't you go after that guy? You know, that's like sitting there and saying, well, they planted a bomb on in this guy's car so that they could call the police and say, hey, this guy's got a bomb in his car, and they'd be charged with the bomb. Well, the guy who actually placed it had to be cognizant enough and guilty enough to possess the explosive material in the first place. Not only did he have and possess the explosive material to build the bomb, but then he used criminal intent to try to terrorize someone else into silence. That, ladies and gentlemen, is worthy of an investigation of national proportion. And anything less is ideology. Anything else is the politics of pull. And I, for one, am tired of the politics of pull. You're listening to America's Voice Now. Please find us every day on the web at americasvoicenow.org. You can also find us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/America's Voice Now. I would encourage you to go to our Facebook page because we post up stories and articles up there every day. And it's an important place for you to go because the importance of what we do up there is very significant. You know, we give you the means and the method to separate yourself from the ministry of propaganda and the trash they're shoving down your throat. We're delivering truth, and we're delivering truth over mainstream propaganda every day. I encourage you to be a warrior for liberty and freedom. And the only way that you're ever going to do that is if you're finding out the right information so that you can make informed decisions. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to tap on our last topic. I was going to cover this child porn setup, but I'm going to address another issue with you. So stick with us. We'll be back in just a moment. You can also find this and every other program that we do up on YouTube. And you can find it by going to youtube.com/America's Voice Now. If you find one that hits a note for you and a funny bone for you, send it off to your friends and educate them as well. This is important work. We'll be right back.